What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like, subscribe as you tune into the channel, check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on a recent episode of Skap Attack, right? And he was talking about Cooper Flagg. Now, I didn't get a chance to see Cooper Flagg play in high school, like just the clips and stuff like that. But once he got to Duke and I saw him at Duke, I was like, okay, yeah, this kid is for real, right? And the thing that really most impressed me about Cooper Flagg game is he didn't settle for a bunch of threes, like like a lot of kids from the younger generation was doing, like shooting a whole bunch of threes. Cooper Flagg was going to the rim and then he was pulling up for the mid range. And I was like, wow, that's cool. Even in college, he showed that he can play with his back to the basket. And when you at an early age can play with your back to the basket, get post from the mid range area and just use that turnaround jumper. That is, and at his height, man, that definitely is going to give him an advantage. And so when he got drafted to the Dallas Mavericks, and then you already had Kyrie Irving there, you had Anthony Davis there, and I said, okay, this is cool for him because it's going to give him an opportunity. He don't have to like step right in and take charge of the team and be the leader off the bat, right? But then Anthony Davis got hurt. Kyrie already, I don't even think him and Kyrie even played a game together. So Kyrie already was out, right? And then but he hasn't really, it didn't really affect him. He's been steadily developing and developing. Like earlier in the season, he looked really good. Then Anthony Davis got hurt or started missing more time. And so it affected it was a slight adjustment for him. I think Jason Kidd, I think he had him playing out of position, and I think that affected his game. But man, this kid right now is just showing that he's the real deal and he's going to be something to deal with, right? And so Scat saying that he's the best teenager ever, right? Or he's asking the question, is Cooper Flagg the best teenager ever? Then when you think about like LeBron James, and some other people that he's going to talk about, like I'm not sure how old Carmelo Anthony, I'm not sure how old he was, but Moses Malone came in as a teenager. So there was some big shoes to fill, right? I don't know if he's the best teenager, but I know this guy's going to be an outstanding pro. So I'm going to play the audio from Scat podcast, and then I probably interrupted a few times so I can give my input. But I thought it was an interesting topic, so here we go.
Well, Cooper Flagg is absolutely on one as of late. And I do mean on one, like literally no one else has ever been, at least no teenager we have ever seen in NBA history. One game ago, Flagg dropped 36 points in a 110-100 loss to the Boston Celtics, making him at the time the first teenager in NBA history to score at least 30 points in 3 consecutive games. Well, he followed that up last game with a 32-point performance against the San Antonio Spurs to extend his now record streak to a 4th straight game. And over those 4 games, Flagg is now averaging 38 points per game, 9 rebounds, and 4.5 assists while shooting 56% from the field.
That's major right there. And so I'm looking at his highlights, right? They're showing his highlights from these different games. And like I said, most of his shots are coming from like about the 15, the 15, 18-foot range, right? And so that's why he can shoot a high percentage like that, because he's not jacking up a whole lot of threes.
But that's not it. He's also shooting 44% from the three-point line and 86% from the free throw line over that span. Just a crazy run. And the teams he has faced over that span of time are the suddenly flaming hot Charlotte Hornets, winners of 8 consecutive games, the Houston Rockets, San Antonio Spurs, and Boston Celtics. And those last 3 teams not just elite teams, but 3 of the best defensive teams in the NBA.
I was great to say that. When you talk about the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Celtics, they play tough defense. So it's not like, he went out there and gave, no offense to the Wizards, but it's not like he went out there and gave the Wizards, and Sacramento 30 point. He did, he did it against some heavy hitters. So that's good. That's a good look.
They are currently the 3rd, 4th, and 7th net rated defensive teams league wide, and this 19-year-old is shredding them to the tune of 38 points per game on 56% shooting. Well, it begs the question of if we are seeing the greatest teenager in NBA history. And yes, that is not hyperbolic. He belongs in this conversation already, and he is seemingly only getting better by the week. Oh, and he will also be a teenager for a long time to come, as he just turned 19 a few weeks ago. There will be another 30-some games played into next season in his teenage years. This is because, of course, he graduated high school in only 3 years and played just 1 year at the college level for Duke. A year where he won National Player of the Year, by the way, in again what should have been his high school senior year of eligibility. Thus, Flagg essentially, from an age standpoint at least, made the direct high school to NBA jump, joining some of the best players we have ever seen.
Yeah, like I said, I'm looking at his highlights here, man, and I know he just said he shoot 40-something% from 3, right? But I'm not seeing this guy jack up a whole bunch of threes. He going to the cup, and he got a little turnaround jumper, man. That's it's gonna be hard to defend. And this is his, he early in his career
in league history. Players such as Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James. Garnett was the 5th pick in his NBA draft, while Kobe, of course, was selected with the 13th pick of the next season's 1996 draft. Kobe, though, during his teenage years, only averaged a shade under 12 points per game in 150 games played, while Garnett just around 10 points an outing in his teen years. The golden standard, though, for teenagers, at least by consensus, is LeBron James, who played 108 games as a teenager and averaged 21.9 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists on 43.5% shooting. But there are many marquee players that got near to or above Bron's teenage level, that being a guy who was drafted in the same class as LeBron James, for instance, Carmelo Anthony. Anthony was a teen for the entire first season of his NBA career, therefore an 82-game sample size, a sample size in which he averaged 21 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists on 43% shooting. There was, of course, also Kevin Durant, who was a walking bucket even as a 19-year-old in his first NBA season. That would be an 80-game sample size, averaging 20 points per game, 4.5 rebounds.
Man, watching Kevin Durant and Carmelo Anthony, man, because Kevin Durant, he played at Texas. He played at Texas 1 year, and he lit Texas. He lit it up for Texas. And you all know, everybody know what Carmelo did at Syracuse. He won the championship with Syracuse. But man, when Kevin Durant came to the league, man, he hit the ground running too. It's hard to say which one of these guys is the best, Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, or Cooper Flagg. But all I know is this, Cooper Flagg, he deserved to be in that group with them guys, LeBron James and all those guys, because he hit the ground running just like they hit the ground running. So that's a good sign. That means that is a sign that he's going to have an excellent, in my opinion, I think Cooper Flagg going to have an excellent NBA career. And so now I think it's just going to be about the Mavericks just putting the right pieces around him so they can start winning some championships. And his game is going to get better because he's going to learn how to to make his teammates better. Right now, he's just working on like how to score against a double team, one-on-one, scoring with his back to the basket and stuff like that. Once he start beating the double teams and making his teammates better, once he get to that point, it's gonna be crazy, man. It's gonna be crazy. The sky's the limit, I think, for this guy right here.
And 2.5 assists while shooting 43% from the field. We have also seen guys recently play at very high levels, though on very small sample sizes, such as Victor Wembanyama, who averaged 19 points per game, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks on 44% shooting, but in only a 29-game sample size. Still, though, a 19-point double-double with 3 blocks is ludicrous for a teenager. And also, look, I know Zion Williamson is basically a walking cautionary tale and poster child for the load management, or I guess perhaps I should say the buffet line management movement, but that cat is straight elite when he is on the court, and particularly he was as a teenage player, dropping nearly 24 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists on 59% shooting, but that work was done in just a 19-game sample size as a teen. Also, look, some might not realize this, but the number 1 pick of the 2020 draft, Anthony Edwards, was 19 for his entire first season, so a 72-game sample size where the Ant-Man averaged 19 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and 3 assists on 42% shooting. And of course, how can anyone forget the guy that will forever intrinsically be connected to Cooper Flagg? A guy whose trade precipitated the Mavericks tanking to a point that they won the draft lottery and had an opportunity to select Flagg with the number 1 overall pick in that draft. Of course, I'm talking about Luka Doncic, who in 57 games as a 19-year-old averaged 21 points per game, 7 rebounds, and nearly 6 assists on 43.5% shooting. All of these players mentioned were certainly elite, and Flagg fits right in beside any and all of them, averaging 20.4 points per game, 6.6 rebounds, and 4.2 assists on 48.5% shooting in 47 games and counting. And as I noted earlier, he is only getting better right now.
Yeah, I just think that Cooper Flagg, man, when you think about all those guys who came in and played as teenagers, Carmelo, Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett, LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, he had some good, none of those guys turned out to be flops. So he is in really good company when you talk about that. It's hard to say who was the best teenager, but like I said, all of these guys really really had great careers, as pros. So he in really good company. So yeah, and I think he's going to get better. I like, and then on top of that, he's not a bad defensive player. He's, he moves well and he's long and lanky. So, and he make up his mind, he's gonna play defense. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be terrible. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know who you think the best teenager was. If you think it was Cooper, LeBron, Carmelo, Kevin Garnett, Kevin Durant, let me know. So with that being said, man, I'm gonna check y'all out in the next video. Peace.